everyone. This is Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, and I am here tonight with Jordan Maxwell. I am going to put his, first of all, I'm going to put the banner here on the screen so we can identify the show. And I've got Jordan standing right by here, so we're going to introduce him. Jordan Maxwell is he is practically a national icon, a scholar, investigator of mysteries, and of course, an expert on the occult, symbolism, and what is known as the Illuminati. He inherited Manly Palmer Hall's library, from what I understand, although I don't know if he still has it or not after his fire. But we're very happy to have him on the show, and we're going to be asking him all sorts of things to do with Trump, etc. Just really great to have you here. So welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Carrie. I'm always happy to be with you.
Absolutely. Well, you're all equipped with your camera and your audio on Skype, and that makes me very happy. So
well, I think so. I think coming up.
Yeah, and people can hear you. Let's get going right away, Jordan. I'd like to know what you think of the election of Trump.
Well, first of all, I'm apolitical. As you know, I seldom ever take any sides on anything. But I understand very well what is going on. Lots of people are bewildered by the electoral situation in America and how it's turned out. I understand it completely. I know what's going on. And what I would say about Trump, first of all, I just like him as a person. I just like him as a man. But there are a couple of things about him that are very, very distinctively different than any other president in my lifetime. In my lifetime, I'm 76 now, I've seen quite a few presidents, but he's the only one in my lifetime that is actually doing something. I don't care if you like it or whatever, you don't like it, it doesn't matter, but at least he's doing something, which is a hell of a lot better than all the other presidents who meet in dark rooms and 4 o'clock in the morning and make their deals with the underworld and mafia and the Cosa Nostra and all the dirty, filthy stuff that's going on in Washington, D.C. with their prostitutes and murder for hire and all that crap. But we don't see it. We don't know nothing about it because we're out at ball games and watching football, because we don't see what's really the dirty stuff going on in Washington, D.C. that would blow your mind if you knew. But at least, whatever he's doing, right or wrong, he's doing it out in the public. And as I said, it's so refreshing to actually see somebody doing something. Because with Obama, you never saw him do anything. It was always dirty, 2 o'clock in the morning, backhanded, meeting in the dark room, meeting in old smoke-filled rooms in Chicago, the city of underworld. I mean, Chicago was famous around the earth for being the underworld capital, except for New York, mob and Al Capone and all the dirty, filthy stuff that was going on with the mob in Chicago, and that's where Obama comes from, Chicago. The underworld organized capital in the world is Chicago, so that's the name of that too. But at least, like I said, at least Trump is doing something. And the second thing, which is really fascinating about him too, as far as I'm concerned, is he actually had a job before becoming a president. He actually did something. He went out and earned a living and built a business and actually did something instead of all these other sucking tits of the American people. They're sucking on the American people, taking their money, ripping them off, and never had a job in their life, and too damn stupid or corrupt to even have a job. All the presidents, they're all a bunch of phonies and criminals, but at least, in my opinion, at least Trump had an empire. I mean, he's a businessman. My God, that's amazing to see a man become president who actually had a job. So I don't know.
All right, fair enough. So
So, I mean,
who do you
I'm
think?
giving you a perspective of somebody 76 years old. I've been all around the world. I've heard all the stories. I know all the stories. But I am very impressed with him because he does what he does, whether you like it or not. And he had a job, so he's not a bum and sucking on the tit of America. He's actually doing something. And so, and besides that, as I said, I like him as a man. I've always admired him. I admire anyone who works to build a big business and is able to control the business and do as much as he does, 24 hours a day. The man is astounding. So I like him myself. I mean, I don't vote for anybody, but I do like him personally, and I like, I like the idea that whatever he does, right or wrong, he does it in your face, and he's doing it right now. He's not going to wait 6 months to make a little token, something for people to see. No, he starts right now, first day, doing stuff in your face, and so
Right, that's
I
absolutely
like
true.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Nice to see some energy happen in the White House
Yeah,
for a change. Uh, so, speaking of the energy in the White House, what I'd like to do is also find out from you what you think about who put him in power. Do you have any thoughts about that? Because I've gotten some background
yeah, how he
information
got
about
into
that.
power.
Yeah, like who
Well,
helped him? Who helped him?
Obviously, behind the scenes, at the very top of the world, there are deals being made, and the real players, the real movers and shakers, who cause things to happen on the earth. You will never see them. You will never hear about them. You will never know who they are, and never hear about them. But they're the ones who cause the world to go around and make things happen. So obviously there's some kind of a deal going on, and anybody who knows Trump and what he's accomplished himself knows that he's had to deal with, because he's all over the world. Trump towers are everywhere, all over the world, and Vegas and back east on the East Coast. So when he's dealing with casinos and gambling, you're dealing with underworld. You're dealing with all kinds of powerful secret societies and fraternal orders and gangsters and mobs and government, the biggest criminal organization out there. And so obviously the man knows what he's doing to build an empire, having to deal with all the dark forces of commerce that's out there. I'm talking about mafia. I'm talking about organized crime, government organized crime.
Right. Also having hotels, right? So he has hotels. He has to deal with gangsters, right?
Well, I mean, whatever. I'm just saying he's obviously a very capable businessman that knows how to handle himself in big company.
Okay,
And
well,
so,
it looks like he has.
I like that.
It looks like he has the military behind him. What do you think about that?
Well, I can see why. I can see why. That makes sense. The other presidents are all Marxist, Leninists, Soviet communists, sellouts and traitors and guilty of high crimes and treason against the country. And so I can see why. I mean, it's about time the military, gets somebody who cares about them. Henry Kissinger said the military is just a bunch of dumb dogs to be used in war for public policy. They're worthless as crap. That's what Henry Kissinger said about the military. They're just a bunch of dogs. Let them die. And of course, George Bush's mother, that beautiful creation of George Bush's mother, she said that who cares about all the body bags coming home? I don't care about body bags. I don't give a damn how many people are killed. That's none of my business. I got a beautiful mind. I got important things to do. I don't care about how many American servicemen are killed. Who the hell cares? That's what she said. Who the hell cares?
Right.
So when I see the leaders, so-called leaders, they're all misleading, but the so-called leaders that badmouth the military and call them names and purposely go out and say, who the hell cares how many of them they get killed? So I understand the military has a power too. So they pulled together and got him Trump elected. And a lot of military people were tired of the Marxist-Leninist bullshit, communist stuff that was going on in America.
Okay, fair enough.
And that's truly what was going on. I mean, you may not know it, but in point of fact, that was what was going on in America as far back as the Kennedy assassination. Was the whole entire superstructure of Western civilization was being slowly but surely changed over to a Marxist-Leninist communist world. And don't forget the way that this new world order works. We know that Adolf Hitler used the term New World Order. Well, that was Nazism. Well, yeah, but the Soviet Union under communism used that same term, New World Order. And so there's not 10 cents worth of difference between communism and Nazism. They're both international socialists. They're both socialist organizations. They both use. I've got a whole video, a 90-minute video showing the connections between Nazism and Soviet communism being the same organizations, the same thing. They use the same words, the same terms, the same symbols. They got paid by the same people. They're financed by the same organizations. And so it's like financing one hand, the left hand against the right hand. But there's a brain that runs both sides. It's like the American symbol is the American eagle. Well, eagles only have two wings. That's why in America you've got a left wing and a right wing. It's all just business, and I understand how all this stuff works. But again, in relation to Trump, I like the man, and I'm impressed that he actually does something.
Okay.
Whether you like it or not, you know.
Yeah, we're getting. I guess there's a fair amount of echo on your voice. People are saying. I guess if you turn your mic down a little bit more, we tried turning it down a bit. I don't know.
If you've been surprised I could do that, yeah.
Okay.
It's always possible. You find out where it is first. I've got to turn down a switch. Yeah, hold on. Let's do it this way. I'll just do it this way.
Yeah, I don't want to lose you.
I'm turning it down a little more now. How's that?
I think that's better.
Okay. I think so, anyway. Now let me know.
Okay, so you sound fine at my end. I think that's a lot better setting. So hopefully they can handle it.
Okay.
And
well, let me know.
How is my voice? Everyone can hear me. I assume we're not having a problem with my voice, right? Okay.
Well, I can hear you. Okay, I can hear it. I had to turn the volume down. When I turned the volume down, I turned you down too. So, but I can still hear you.
Okay. Great. I'll turn us down a little bit too. All right. So as far as
turn me down.
Sorry.
I said you always have to turn me down because I get on a roll and I'm just rattling on, talking about my feelings about stuff. But I got an excuse.
All right, so
I always throw out the idea. Yeah, I'm 76 years old, so I just curmudgeon. I got a lot of stuff on my mind, a lot of stuff I've lived with all my life that I know about that bothers me terribly, but I can't talk about in public. And so if I sound like I'm bitter and angry, I am. I'm very bitter and angry. And once you understand what's going on in America and around the world, if you're not bitter and angry, then there's something wrong with you. As long as you don't understand, well, that's different. But when you finally do figure out what the name of the tune is and how this world's being played, then it gets to be very, very unhappy. It can become very bitter and very angry at the inhumanity of man's inhumanity to man. So there's corruption everywhere. So, and especially in religion and government, commerce, well, I mean, my God, all the different institutions of the world are corrupt. But government, religion, and commerce, those are the three foundation stones of civilization.
Okay.
Money, government, and religion.
Well, Jordan, but I do want to ask you, have you gotten anybody who has approached you from, undercover or just kind of talking to you off the record, who's mentioned anything about who was supporting Trump? In other words, the Scottish Rite. Anything on that level?
No, I haven't talked to anybody about that, but I am aware that the Masonic Order in America is a totally different operation than what I talk about. When I talk about Masonry, I'm talking about occult Freemasonry. Occult simply means hidden. That's all the word means is hidden. So I'm not talking about the Masonic Order as such when I talk about secret societies. I'm talking about hidden organizations, organized crime, criminal organizations. The Masonic Order in America is merely a fraternal order. It's always been the same. I know born-again Christians and Christianity in general like to portray Freemasonry as an evil organization. In point of fact, no, I would say that it's just a fraternal organization. I mean, the Camp Fire Girls and Boy Scouts and God knows all the others, fraternal orders for men and women are just that. They're fraternal orders. Like you go to church. Churches are fraternal orders. People go to church because they like being with their friends. They don't know what's going on theologically and what's going on.
Okay, but let's not mince words here, Jordan. We're talking about the higher levels of the order. We're talking about secret societies. We're talking about a secret society, which is the Scottish Rite, the York Rite. There are things that go on above the 33rd degree. We're talking about dark magicians orchestrating certain things. This is what the Illuminati really are behind the scenes.
Well, all I know is that I've been looking at the subject of secret societies for many years. I mean, I don't know what's going on in those places. I'm not privy to be in those places, so I don't know. But I do know that there are secret societies operating around the world, and some of them are very, very criminal. Some of them are political, but criminal anyway. So.
Well, what about P2? The P2 Lodge. You know anything about that?
Say it again.
P2 Lodge.
Oh yeah, P2 Propaganda Duet. Yeah, P2 Lodge. Interesting. The third Godfather 3. The third one, at least twice, in that movie, P2 was mentioned in that movie. And so it shows me that Francis Ford Coppola was telling you a lot of history and a lot of stuff in that Godfather 3. I mean, the whole Godfather series was very interesting, the things that were brought out, but in particular with P2, Francis Ford Coppola put into Godfather 3 three different places where they talked about P2 and Propaganda Duet. P2 is a secret society operating within the Catholic Church. It's probably under the auspices of or overseeing the activities of P2 what's the name of that organization?
Well, I mean, the overseer, isn't it the Black Pope, the Jesuits, Black Pope?
Jesuits, yeah, the Jesuits and the Black Pope, yes. They're always involved in all that kind of thing. But Opus Dei was what I was trying to say.
Oh, I see.
Opus Dei. Because Opus Dei, Opus means work and Dei means God, so it's God's work, Opus Dei. Now, you better go back and do some homework and find out what God they're talking about and what work he's doing. Because when you find out what Opus Dei really is, and find out the connection to Opus Dei to P2 Propaganda Duet, which is a known today, we understand by many books and reference works have been written about P2, which is a terrorist organization purposely designed by the Vatican to terrorize the world into accepting their agenda. So when you see a lot of this terrorism going on in France and Germany and everything, I just wonder how much P2 has to do with that, because that's what they are, a terrorist organization that works for the Vatican.
Did you ever talk to Leo's?
They got in a lot of trouble for their banking procedures too with P2. The Vatican did.
Right. Well, Vatican Bank is very instrumental in what's really going on. Listen, have you ever talked to Leo Zagami?
No. He mentioned me a couple of times, and I've never personally talked with him. No.
Okay.
I know they did mention me a couple of times. I don't know that much about the situation that we have today. I came across a reference work on the web that was put out by a research society, and I'll have to send it to you. I'd like to make it as a matter of fact, I could probably send it out to a lot of people. I think it will fit on a email, but it is the whole structure of the entire world, how the governments are connected all around the world, and all the secret societies around the earth, and how they're connected. It's a phenomenal chart. It's
cool.
Enormously big, but
okay, that sounds great.
I think I'll try and send it to you on an email and see if it will go through. But once you open it up, it's just enormous. It goes through all the different countries of the world, the different secret societies operating in those countries, and then shows you the connections with the banking, the insurance companies, the universities and colleges that are operated by the secret societies and financed by other organizations around. It's a hell of a map. It's mind-blowing when you see the thing.
Okay, well, all right. So what do you think is going to happen as a result of Trump coming into power in terms of the banking, in terms of, they were trying to basically take down America? You think that Trump is going to turn that around?
Well, again, I don't know, but I do admire the one thing that he's actually doing something, and I think what Trump is trying to do is tantamount to, or very similar to, trying to go out into the Atlantic Ocean and bring up the Titanic and tow it back to shore, and then remodel the whole boat. Just completely redo the entire.
That's actually that's a pretty good analogy.
And so that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to take America, which has become communized with communist activity, socialist crap, organized crime, underworld crap, and look at. All you got to do is go back to the history books and look at Chicago and the mafia, the underworld organizations in Chicago, and the Democratic Party, because there's so many books and so many videos and documentaries that were done many years ago showing the connection between the Democratic Party, the mafia, the underworld, the whole organized crime syndicates of America, how they're operating and paying for different political elections. And there's just an enormous amount of information about the Democratic Party, the mafia, and the organized crime out of Chicago. Well, that's where Obama comes from. That's
all right. Well, I mean, you look. The Republican Party is also a criminal organization.
Well, of course, but I'm just talking about what was in there in relation to relation.
Yeah, but do parties really matter? The Bush cabal has been running everything since day one.
Really don't matter. It's just business.
Yeah. All right. So what about this idea of erecting a wall on the Mexican border?
Well, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, Israel successfully cut off a lot of traffic when they put up a wall. So I don't know. None of my business. That kind of thing is politics, and I'll let the politicians do it.
Well, I don't know. It depends the real reason they're doing it, and whether or not they're keeping us in or other people out.
Well, that's always a question. Yeah, it's always a good question too. Are they keeping the other people out, or are they keeping us in? I don't know. I think though, my gut feeling is that they're keeping people out because, we got two borders on the ocean. People want to get out, they can get out. But there is an enormous flow of criminality coming across the border into America from Mexico. It's just enormous. I mean, anybody knows anything about the drug cartels knows how big and how enormous those organizations are, and how they're well established in California, Los Angeles.
Considering the CIA runs the drug trade, I don't think the wall is really going to prevent anything on their end. Listen, I wonder what you think about Michael Aquino and his role. He's involved in these secret societies. He's was involved in the Presidio. He's, you know who he is, right?
Oh, of course. I mean, there are mentally disordered people out there in radio land who are actually have websites showing definitive proof that Jordan Maxwell is Michael Aquino.
Kidding.
Go out there, look, I'll put the two names there.
Well, they obviously haven't heard Douglas Dietrich. Did you ever talk with Douglas?
A lot of things they need to hear. One guy's out there saying that I am Michael Aquino.
All right. Well, yeah, they're crazies everywhere. But we know that he's a distinct guy from you. Everyone knows that. Look. Sorry?
Except that goofball, he doesn't seem to know. And
right.
The same guy said that I was also William Cooper.
Oh, God. I mean...
Yeah, he said, I'm William Cooper. William Cooper got in so much trouble, he had a nose job done, and had become Jordan Maxwell.
Besides the fact that he died and they killed him. That's just a small footnote that people... That psycho ought to find that out. Listen, okay, what do you think about Pizzagate?
What was it again?
Pizzagate, pedophilia, the whole emphasis in this time.
It's such a big subject, and it's all over the world, and I understand, but what I really think, bottom line is, I think that there is a dark force in the world that has control over people's minds and emotions, etc. Christians call them angels and demons and devils. Islam calls them jinns. Jews have names for their spirit world, different spirits, ghosts, poltergeists, demons, devils, sons of God. And I don't care what you call it. I am totally convinced for myself that there is a spiritual darkness that is dominating the earth. And there's some kind of a spiritual matrix, for a better term, that is connected to the human race, and we cannot seem to shake it, whoever they are.
Well, I mean, have you ever seen a reptilian?
I have not personally seen one, no, but I am totally convinced that they do exist.
Yes.
No doubt in my mind about it. But I have reasons for saying that. I didn't learn about the reptilians from David Icke. I think he learned about it from me. Many years ago, when I first met him, I talked with him about the reptilians. I've known about the reptilian presence and that whole genre and that whole field of study about reptilian. I am totally convinced because I've heard way too many people, as I've traveled around the world, I've heard way too many people who are very level-headed, professional people in different countries of the world telling me the same thing about their one-on-one experience with reptilians. And I know that there's way too many people, way too much smoke not to be a fire. And then I have other, I would say, circumstantial evidence that I have put into a video many years ago, and I'm working on redoing that video about the reptilian presence, because I've got a lot of material on that, documentation, pictures, all kinds of strange stuff on that one subject. So I totally believe that they exist. I've heard way too many stories, but myself, happily, I've never come across one. I've come across a lot of things, and some of them extraterrestrial, but not the reptilian, thank God.
Okay, well, you have met some Nordics, haven't you? I
cannot go to a court and prove it. but I have been in the company of, I believe, I don't know, for lack of a better term, alien life forms, people who appeared to be normal humans, but after I got to know them a little better, I found out they weren't just normal humans. And so, I mean, we could talk about that for hours because I've had so many, different experiences.
Well, a lot of that is.
What I told you about was my girlfriend and her father. I told you about that.
Yes.
Well, that was one of the major ones that convinced me.
Okay, well, some people are still having issues with your sound. I don't, you're in a room that has some echo. It's not much we can do about it.
What? I think maybe the problem is, I'll tell you what the problem is. The new place I have moved into has no carpet.
Oh.
It has tile floors.
Oh, I see.
And I know that I have already talked to people who know the audio industry, and they tell me I have to get some kind of a protection around the microphone so it doesn't reverberate. And I know that's what the problem is.
Oh, I see.
A room that's all tile floors, ceramic tile floors. So that's probably what they're hearing. And I'm sorry about that. I'm going to do something about that. So.
Okay. Well, I actually don't think it's that bad. I think the audio is going to be fine when we get when this is recorded. So, Sue, do you have any thought about what the whole Pizzagate thing? What was going on with that in terms of taking down Hillary or any of Podesta?
What I know is that Hillary was there's almost no words to explain Hillary as far as I'm concerned. That whole entire corrupt. It's possible anything could have been going on. Right now, as we speak, there are all kinds of criminal activity going on in our country, in America today, which is too big, way too big for law enforcement to handle. So they do the best they can, but the best they can is not working. Because I've heard from people on the inside of FBI that they tell me that this one guy was telling me that one people that the FBI doesn't fool with, they don't care what they do, they're not going to mess with them, is the Russian mafia. Because the Russian mafia is so damnable violent and criminal that the FBI doesn't want to fool with them.
Well, I'll tell you, I think the other group they don't want to mess with is the Satanists. I get the sense that a lot of police departments have to turn their back on that stuff a lot.
I think you're probably right. I tend to agree.
Yeah.
They probably do turn their head on a lot of that stuff because there's nothing they can do about it. It's too big. I mean, a classic example in a movie was Eyes Wide Shut.
Right.
That was an incredible movie, and the guy who produced it and directed it died.
Well, Jay Weidner has a theory. I saw him recently, and he's I think he's working on a book or a movie about it. He has a theory that maybe he didn't die. Maybe he made a deal. Maybe he went off planet. I don't know. It's
Jay, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the experts on all of these kind of subjects, especially when it comes to Hollywood and symbolism, and of course his forte is alchemy. But Jay is a brilliant guy.
Yeah, lovely guy. Absolutely. All right. So in terms of what's going on, I've got a lot of people asking questions in the chat. I'm going to ask you those questions. I want to ask you if there's anything that is going on the planet right now that you want to highlight, something that you're aware of, whether it be weather wars or something completely unrelated, whatever it is that you're looking at right now. Where is your attention?
There's one thing. I started looking at this one subject by accident, the most important subject to me today, after hearing all of these stories and doing all kinds of research and talking with people for the last 55, 56 years. Today, the most important subject for me right now is this whole idea of the symbolism which is being used in movies and television political, churches, everywhere, all over the world, and all institutions, television, as I said, movies, but also police departments, sheriffs, fire departments, government agencies, all over the earth. A particular symbol is being used by all of them, and they're all using the same words and terms with that same symbol. And I have now, as I said, started looking at this one symbol back in 1967. So I don't know, was that 50 some odd years ago? And I've been looking at this and studying it, and I think it is really the most important subject today on the planet Earth, because it impacts religion, government, banking, human life. It impacts everything we do around the world.
Okay, so
that is the symbol. That is the symbol, and you will see it everywhere, of a rising sun between two mountains.
right.
There's always a picture of the two mountains and then a rising sun between them. That
Okay.
is a very powerful interpretation when you understand the implications of it. It goes back to the ancient Egyptians, which is probably also, because I've seen it in the ancient Hindus and the Middle Eastern religions. But it's a very important symbol, the sun rising between two mountains. And the presidents of the United States, and right off the bat, I can think of 3 or 4 of them, used those that talked about Bill Clinton talked about one of his addresses when he was president. He said, "I saw the sun rising over the two mountains of the east, and the two mountains and the sunrise, etc." And I thought to myself, yep, there it is again. Every time you turn around, somebody is seeing the sunrise between two mountains. Now, you don't really understand, and I don't, and I understand that it's very difficult for me to impress you with what I'm saying. You have to see it. You have to see it being used by governments, religion, churches, synagogues, mosques. You've got to see it used by commerce, corporations, businesses, banking, universities, high schools, anything and everything that mankind has put together, a institution of any kind, uses the same symbolism and says the same words and terms, which tells me that I'm onto something very big. I still don't fully have it yet, but I've got enough of it to know now that this is the biggest subject on the earth, because everybody's using it. And when you see the sun, now that brings in religion. And this is what I've been doing all my life. I'm fascinated with how all of this ties into religion, mankind's religious belief systems. And that's a whole story in itself. But
Okay, well, it seems to me, yeah, you're talking about the Son God. You're talking about Jesus Christ is called the Son of God. And you're also talking...
Yeah, it's much bigger than that.
And you're talking about Marduk. A lot of the symbolism going back to ancient Egypt would involve, isn't it involved with Marduk?
Yeah, but it's far bigger than that. It's far, far bigger than that politically and theologically bigger. It's the basis for the world's religions all over the world. The part about Jesus and Marduk is one of 50 different pieces to the puzzle. But I'm saying that the general principle of this symbol is the basis for everything around the world. When we get into religion, I would say that Allah, for instance, today, Allah is understood in the academic circles, according to reference book. Allah is a moon god. The worshippers of the moon love Allah. That's in the Arabic world. But in the Hebrew world, the moon god was Yahweh, which is Allah, and in Hebrew is, Allah in Arabic is Yahweh in Hebrew. They're both the same. They're both moon gods. But what's interesting about that moon god Allah and Yahweh is that they're backwards. At different times in history, they have changed places. For instance, Allah was originally a sun god, worshipped as a god of the sun. somewhere along the line within the past, I don't know, 1,000 years or 800 years, he became a moon god. So he changed from a sun god to a moon god. So today the Arabs worship a moon god, while Yahweh was originally a moon god. But today in Hebrew, in the Jewish religion, Yahweh is a sun god now. He started off being a moon god. So it's interesting the way the two gods are the same thing, but they change places.
Well, it sounds like they've got themselves in a heat.
Sometimes they're a moon god. You just have to study theology and see the flow of how this happens.
Okay, well, I heard some inside knowledge about the Kaaba stone, in Mecca, that there is a way to go underneath the stone, and that they actually took it and they transported it to Antarctica. And that I think that I'm not supposed to even be saying this, but what the hell? And that this was done just very recently. Now, why? First of all, what is the stone? What is the stone really made of? Because first of all, I read that it was white, and then supposedly turned black because of people touching it. Which then I read that it's not that; it's made of pieces of something. Then somewhere else it said it came from off planet. Somewhere else it said it came from, I don't know, some mythical kind of thing. So, in other words, why would they take this stone? This Kaaba stone, why would they move it to Antarctica suddenly? What would they do with it there?
Well, first of all, I don't know if that's true, but if it did happen,
I got it from a very interesting source.
I'm sure the Germans probably have something to do with that.
Yeah, they probably do.
The German government is very interested in Babylonia and the Babylonian religion as it applies to Islam today.
Well, so
Islam is a very interesting religion. I mean, it's the most concocted, strangest thing. When you start learning the real basis for Islam, it will blow your mind. There's all kinds of strange stuff there.
Well, I was told also along those lines. I don't want to leave the subject of Antarctica, but I was told about Islam recently that the Quran was actually a concoction written by the Vatican.
I would be a bit surprised. I think that too. If I were to take a guess, that would be my guess also. When you spell Quran, the last two letters is A-N.
Yeah, anything with A-N is Anu.
Back to Anu.
Yeah.
And it goes back into Egypt, the god Anu, A-N-N-U, A-N-N-U, Anu. And Anu, that's why the book is called Quran, because the last two letters is A-N, which connects it to the old Egyptian Anu religion. And
okay,
course,
but why? Okay, that's maybe very controversial. We don't have proof of this. I was told this again by another source. Listen, in terms of Antarctica, John Kerry went there during the election. Interesting thing. You got Buzz Aldrin saying there's something very evil down there. We have, I don't know if you've heard my interview with William Tompkins, the whistleblowers come forward from the Navy, sponsored by the Navy, very interesting man, had interactions working for NASA and for the secret space program since day one in aerospace, having interactions with the Pleiadians who were guiding our secret space program, helping our engineers, et cetera, to build the program. And also talking about the Nazis who were banding with the reptilians, who took over NASA, who basically are involved in Antarctica at this time. The reptilians and the Nazis never left. They're all down in Antarctica. What are your thoughts about all that?
Well, I think that there's something to that. I think that there is a Nazi presence in Antarctica. I'm sure of it. It may not be massive, but but I know that they were down there, and I know that they had designs on the whole Earth. And what better place to set up shop would be Antarctica or the North Pole, either one. And so I would be a bit surprised if the Nazi have installations. The old Nazis still have installations down there, and there very well could be some really, truly off-the-wall stuff going on down there that we're not aware of, that we're just now hearing about. There's a lot of strange stuff going on in this world that we're not being privy to know about. So.
Okay. Well, I mean. By the way, just someone writing in the chat, just let me address this. Whatever the psycho is that's saying that I love Trump, other than loving him as a fellow human, I don't love Trump. Actually, I'm not in favor of most of his policies that are coming out lately, but I'm hopeful because I hope he does something worthwhile. He seems like more of a real person than somebody who's been genetically engineered.
I agree with you.
I think, Obama was definitely genetically engineered to fulfill a role. And
whoever engineered it,
and I'm afraid that was kind of a failed mission, and I actually feel bad for him on that level, but as a soul. But I think we're really dealing with a group of people where presidents are just middle managers. They are administrators who handle corporations. The real people that are running this place are not visible, other than perhaps Cheney.
You remember I said that the real people running the planet, you will never know who they are, ever. You'll never hear about them. You'll never see them. They're so powerful, they don't need to have they don't want anybody knowing who they are. You will not believe the opulence that they live in.
Yeah.
And up in the mountains
look, they're going off planet at this point. So whether some of these people are even here anymore is open to conjecture.
Yeah, right.
But it is interesting, some of the stuff. I mean, why would, for example, you would think John Kerry must have been ordered the day of the election to go down to Antarctica. There's no other logical reason why he'd have to race down there on that particular day. It's a really interesting, and it sounds like he had to go bow to some king. That's the way it sounded to me. But
they're all are nothing but puppets. I mean, we know that they're all being paid large salaries to do what the boss says do. And
right.
John Kerry is just one more. He's a member of the secret society, the same one that George Bush Jr. is. So there's all kinds of strange stuff that people have no idea in the world what's going on. So when it comes to Antarctica, I wouldn't have been surprised what's going on down there. But I'm pretty sure that the Nazi, even the old world Nazi movement, still has their claws down there. They still are down there somewhere, somehow. I don't know.
Well, I recently interviewed this English barrister who warned about a nuke that actually he got thrown in jail for warning them that there was a nuke set up to go at the 2012 ceremony of the Olympics in Britain. And he's now suing them for millions of dollars, but he's been working in the intelligence area, Michael Shrimpton. He's written a book, and I wonder if you are aware of this division of the German secret intelligence agencies called, for short, they call it DVD. I can't pronounce the name. It comes from Abwehr, the Abwehr organization, and also, of course, the Gestapo, but it's supposedly, according to Shrimpton, it's infiltrated the Mossad, the intelligence agencies of Britain, and the government of Britain on certain levels, as well as the U.S. and our intelligence agencies.
Yeah, because the whole royal family of Germans, they're all a bunch of Nazis. The whole royal family, Prince
right.
Charles, and what's the name? Queen Mom.
Well, but the royal families aren't they German and Russian? That's where they intermarried. I mean, they're all German and Russian, right?
That's right.
So,
let me ask you. It's 8:00. What time? How long do we have? Because there's some other things I want to talk about.
All right, why don't you go ahead then? We have as much as you need, but we've got another hour. We've got questions to answer in the chat, but I want you to cover some whatever you'd like. Go ahead.
Well, I'm very tired, and I don't think I can do another whole hour. But
no problem.
But a couple of things I wanted to say. If we have some time, I'd like to talk about the moon god in relation to today's modern day religions that are very interesting, almost funny to look at it. But
Okay.
one thing I did want to say before I forget it is that on my new website, I have a website called Jordan Maxwell Show. So if we go on my website, it's my website, you're hearing me saying it. It's called jordanmaxwellshow.com. And when you go on jordanmaxwellshow.com, I have a new website connected there called the Research Society website. And what that is, it's a separate website in which I am uploading all of my own materials, all of my research materials, audio, videos, articles, white papers, research materials, books, free ebooks, lots of audio and video materials, lots of things, hidden history, cult history, occultism, words, strange words that are used, also about commerce and banking and law, all kinds of materials that I'm just putting everything out there eventually onto my new website called the Research Society website. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I found out that if you, and you probably know this already, that if you're talking about something that might possibly get you in trouble, it's better to do it in private, because government has no control over private conversations. So if you and say 10 other friends get together in a restaurant, and you at that point you can talk about anything you want, anything that the group will allow. You can call people names, you can say anything you want to about anybody, because it's just within the group around the table. But if you go out into the world and go on television and start talking that way, that's different. Government is empowered to protect the public, and so they can protect the public by keeping your mouth shut. So they will shut you down. You can get in trouble for saying things now in public. So I found out that it's wiser to, if I'm going to put things out there that might get me in trouble, some documents that are really incredible documents that I haven't even shown you yet. But
Okay, very cool. That I think people will really enjoy that.
Yeah, but so what I'm doing is I'm putting all of my work on this Research Society, and it's only $30 for a lifetime subscription. One time, $30 lifetime subscription. I'm downloading everything onto it, all kinds of documents, pictures, as I said, audio, videos, free ebooks. I've got tons of incredibly important ebooks that are free ebooks, and especially the audio video. Got a lot of incredible new audio lectures and things that a lot of people haven't heard. So I'm just saying that that's where all my research is going to be.
All right, yeah, that's highly recommended. I put the link here for you, Jordan. We've also got an ad on the front page of our site for you.
Good.
But listen, somebody in the chat is saying, quote unquote, the Jews run the world. There is such a confusion out there over, look, Germans, Jews. Is there really a big difference between Germans and Jews? And do you understand what the difference is? And the bloodlines, where they go back, what they go back to, all of this. People who say Jews are running the world, I think are missing the point. But there is a faction of certainly Zionism that wants to be in control of some things. Do you want to address that at all, Jordan?
Well, yes, because Zionism is not Jewish. It has nothing to do with being Jewish at all. It has nothing to do with being Hebrew at all. Zionism is a totally different subject completely. Most people don't know that. They're misunderstanding what Zionism is. Zionism is named after, in the Bible, Zion was a mountain, and that mountain was in Canaan, or what we call today Israel, but it was actually in the land of Canaan. There was a mountain called Mount Zion. And Zionism is simply based on the concept of a holy mountain. Well, my God, we got holy mountains everywhere. Mount Fuji in Japan, and and all of these holy mountains in the ancient Greek world.
Well, the symbolism behind a mountain is also a place where the gods reside.
Yeah.
So you gotta, if you can't talk about Zionism or Israel even without talking about the Anunnaki, in my opinion. So you actually have to go way back in history.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, you have to go back and bring in the Anunnaki. You have to go back and bring in the extraterrestrial presence if you're going to talk about Zionism. However, I've got Jewish friends all over the world, all over Los Angeles. All my friends, so many of them are all Jewish, and all of them are of the same thinking that I am. That they're tired of the corruption in government. They're just struggling to pay their bills and live each day. They have their families. They're not involved in trying to overthrow the government. They're trying to pay their bills and pay their rent. And so, and these are all kinds of Jewish people that I know. The wealthy ones and regular, ordinary guys. They're all really very sick about the situation going on in the world today, and they're not getting special treatment from anybody. No, I think
you can't ignore the role of the Jesuits or the Vatican. Vatican is really up very close to the top. I'm afraid to say, sadly, because they are so aligned with the reptilians. So this is also something you can't ignore.
Yeah, I think if you're going to point the finger at anyone, it would not be the Jews, in my opinion. I know too many Jews. I would point the finger for myself. I've only been looking at for 60 years, so I don't know. but no, I'm serious.
Yeah, 60 years, that's right.
Every day and studying it and hearing all
that's
the
right.
stories, regurgitating all the stories I've heard over the years. But the bottom line for me is the Vatican. That's as far as I'm concerned. The bottom line is Vatican. And it goes back to way before the Vatican was even founded. It goes back to the real powers behind the Roman Empire. The Caesars of Rome were not the power of the Roman Empire. There were very powerful entities behind what we call the Roman Empire. And they were the people, they were the powers behind the great empires before. It's been like a bloodline of secret powers behind governments of the world. And so as far as I'm concerned, the Jews are not it. You missed the point if you're blaming the Jews, because virtually all the Jews that I've met, and I know of so many, they're just like me. They're just trying to stay alive and pay their bills and live with their families. So I don't see the Jews as trying to overthrow the world. But I do see that there is a very powerful secret society in the world that has nothing to do with being Jewish at all.
Right.
They are the ones, and in my opinion, that's Jesuits. We're talking about Jesuits and Catholic Church. Because remember, Rome ruled the world. All roads lead to Rome.
Have you heard the story about Constantine, Jordan, the Constantine and the idea that some of the things that were attributed to having happened and been written into the Bible actually happened in England, not in the Middle East? But
I've heard that story for years. It's all about the church, Glastonbury, Thor.
Yeah.
That entire story I've heard for many, many years. It's very interesting.
Did you ever know Commons Beaumont when he was alive? I don't know if he was alive during your time.
What was his name?
His name's Commons Beaumont. He was the writer who kind of, he was one of the people who wrote about it. So an occult writer who sort of popularized this idea that actually a lot of what went on in the Middle East was actually in and around England, Glastonbury.
And like I said,
and that was part of Atlantis at one time.
Well, also there's a guy in Utah who's a renegade. I mean, he doesn't belong. He's a Mormon, but he doesn't belong to the regular Mormon church. He has nothing to do with it. But he's got a huge family, and he's very, very successful in business, but he lives up in the mountains, and I've been there up to see him twice. He has enormous operation. He's very, very, what am I trying to say, very successful in business. But he can take you out and show you all kinds of places up there in Utah that he knows, and I've been out there with him, where he's showing you all the things in the Old Testament supposedly happened in the Old Testament was actually happening in Utah. And he makes a pretty damn good case for it all. I don't know.
All right.
I'm just saying, it's very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. So, well, we know that Atlantis was a very large continent. It was actually a worldwide civilization even,
Yeah.
And had many outposts, and certainly Malta was one of those outposts, in my opinion, and a place where they hid a lot of secret stuff. That's why the Vatican runs the place.
I think so. The Vatican obviously has a connection that we don't know about. Something very, very big and very dark is operating there. Because I've been there, and you have too, I think. But
Yeah.
I've been to the Vatican, and especially at night. You get the spookiest feeling after the sun goes down, walking around the courtyard of the Vatican. It's very spooky there. I'm telling you, I can feel it. So it's a center for demonic power. And let me tell you something else about the Vatican I think is very interesting and very important for people to know. The God of the Vatican, or I should say, the God of the Catholic Church, is people don't seem to realize. All you've got to do is go to an encyclopedia and do some research on the God of the Roman Catholic Church. His name is Dagon, D-A-G-O-N, not Jesus, Dagon. Write it down and do some research on D-A-G-O-N, Dagon. Dagon is the God of the Roman Catholic Church. The priest and all the Pope and the priest and the whole menagerie of the services of the church are all built around the worship of a Dagon, a fish god. So that's what amazes me, is that so many people think it's Christian. They think that it's so holy, but nobody seems to know what it's based on, what the Catholic Church is based on. Well, it's supposedly based on Jesus. No, it has nothing to do with Jesus.
Nothing to do with Jesus. Nothing to do with him.
Nothing at all. It has to do with a God named D-A-G-O-N. Go back and do some research.
Well, they wear they wear the hat on top of their head. That's a fish shaped like a fish.
It's a fish head, right?
But it really harks back to the Egyptian, what they wore in their head.
It goes back to Anis in the Middle East, another name for Dagon, but
right.
A different culture called him Anis. Anis the fishman, or Dagon the fishman.
Well, it probably goes back to Neptune, I would imagine, and
well, yeah.
And then.
But also, I was going to say that on the
Poseidon.
Back of the you will see the fish symbol. The fish symbol is the fish symbol for Dagon, the fish god.
Right. Well, they tried to merge that symbolism with Jesus, but it was that was actually just a construction.
It was.
So. I'm looking through the chat for questions. Somebody wants to know about the Freemasons. It is important to understand that the Freemasons are not necessarily the same thing as the Masons who there are splits within the order. But what do you want to say? Someone wants to know who runs the Freemasons. Who rules
the Freemasons?
Yeah, someone wants to know.
I have no idea. I don't know if they are being run. I think there's just a fraternal order. I don't think they are being run. Let me say it this way. In any man-made organization, anything that has men and women belonging to an organization, you will find, as I have, that organizations are not good or bad. Some organizations are bad, obviously, but the point I want to make is that there are good people and bad in all things. There are good people in churches, synagogues. There are good people in Islam. There are good people in different organizations, but at the same time, there are bad people there too. So in Freemasonry, like any other human organization, there's going to be good and bad. Some of the most brilliant and wonderful people and some of the most important people I've met in my life were Freemasons, but they were brilliant and wonderful people who were educating and teaching people and helping his fellow man. So, but then of course I know there must be bad people too. So that's the way life is. In any human organization, you're going to have good and evil, good and bad.
Okay, what about artificial intelligence? Someone here is raising the question about biological artificial intelligence.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm impressed with artificial intelligence because at least the computers are intelligent, even if the people aren't. That's amazing to me that we got computers which are intelligent. Yeah, but what about the people? Well, they don't know for nothing, but the computers are intelligent. Well, I know that the computer industry goes back a long time ago. It's based on something far, far more darker than you think. The whole idea of computerizing the world and then ultimately to control and connect the human brain to a computer. And they're even using human cells in computers. Slowly but surely, they want to try and connect the human race to computers. So once they do that, it would be very easy to control the whole world. They don't have to fight anybody. All you got to do is type in what you want people to believe, and all of a sudden it's the big rage. Everybody believes it. So I know that there is something going on in high technology to connect the human race to computers, and that's why this brings up another subject of GMOs. GMOs, I have seen too much evidence that GMO foods are merely one part of something far bigger. GMO, genetically modified people. And so the idea is there's a movement around the world to genetically modify people. And so obviously they're going to genetically modify foods, and then they're going to genetically modify children and babies, and the birth of genetically modified babies. So the whole idea of genetically modified is not just with food; it's with everything. And the digital age is another interesting, fascinating subject, because digital is simply a 1 and an O, 1 and 0. My God, that opens up a can of worms. You have no idea in the world how big that could be.
Well, I heard you refer to that. Adam, you said Aton. I heard you on another show talking about Aton and the symbolism of it was already embedded even before computers seemed to be invented.
Absolutely.
The ones and the zeros, you said 10, the 10 commandments, with the 1, 0, they weren't really even 10 commandments, but they reduced them.
British Prime Minister lives at number 10 Downing Street. And 10, what was the name of a god? The Aten. The sun was called the Aten, Aten. But Aten was also called Aton, Aton. And the Hebrew God is, the Jews will tell you that their God is referred to as a 4-letter word, Yahweh. Why? Because they don't want to use the name of God, so they use 4 letters that represent the name of God. Well, what those 4 letters are called, ask any Jew or look in the reference work and you will see the 4 letters for the name of God is called the tetragrammaton. The tetragrammaton. Tetra is 4, gramma is a letter. So tetragramma is 4 letters of the Aton, A-T-O-N, tetragramma Aton. So it's the 4 letters of the Hebrew God for the sun, A-T-O-N, tetragrammaton. So the Hebrews are worshiping their old ancient Aton religion. So are the Illuminati. So are all the secret societies, the fraternal orders, colleges, universities, governments, banks, insurance companies, corporations. All of this is Aton religion. That was what I was telling you about before. And the Aton was always pictured as a sun rising between 2 mountains. So this Aton religion, it gives birth to what we call the Illuminati, the secret societies. It's an extraordinary subject, and I've done a video on it. I haven't put the video out on my website yet, but I have 2 brand new videos on this one subject of the Aton religion as it applies to the whole world. And I'll have it on my website probably within a week or so, that you can order the 2 new videos. I've been without videos and not able to do much of anything in the past 10 years.
Well, what about this idea that the sun god, is the son of God, and if man is a god and the son of man would be artificial intelligence, that is our creation. Every alien society, they say, has to create an artificial intelligence in order to go into outer space to become a spacefaring race. So there may be a link between the sun and AI. I'm not sure how.
Well, I'm sure because what was his name? Maurice Catterall. Maurice Catterall talked a lot about the sun having to do with your human intelligence. The sun causes your personality. When you were born, the sun rays hit your brain and causes your personalities. And the different planets, are also exerting some kind of an influence, electrical influence on us. And so when we're born, we're hit with all the sun, all the different planets, and this is what causes. This is why you can read people's personality by astrology. There is something to that. A lot of people want to poo-poo it, but there is something to the fact that if you know how to do it right, astrology can tell you a lot of things about people. Not the everyday astrology we see today.
But the sun, the rays of the sun, we can actually live on the sun by looking at the sun. We can you can actually get food from the sun. And what they have done with chemtrails is try to screen the sun, the rays of the sun, to keep people dumbed down. That's one of the things that they're doing is to keep people and also to keep people wearing sunglasses. It was to keep people from tapping into the source energy.
Yeah, well, the Hindus said if you get up early in the morning when the sun's just coming up, you're not looking at it directly above, but you're looking through your atmosphere at the sun. You can stare right into the sun. And then when it's setting, you can look straight into it. It won't be as harmful to the eye if you're looking at it when it just rises or just setting.
Right.
But Christianity is nothing more than sun worship. It has become sun worship. The Christianity of the original Christianity bears no resemblance today to modern day Christianity. It has nothing to do with the original Christianity at all. So I call Christianity today churchianity, not Christianity. Christianity is a profoundly interesting, fascinating science of understanding the planets, the stars, and the forces that are being forced on us by the universe out there. That's a whole story about what real original Christianity taught, as opposed to what we have today, which has nothing to do with original Christianity at all. It's just a church movement, churchianity, not Christianity.
Right.
That's a whole subject we could talk about for hours later.
Absolutely. Someone wants to know if you've heard about the black goo, and if you have anything to say about that.
Say it again, about the what?
Black goo. The black goo. It's a black oil-like substance. It was found in the Gulf. It's called black goo.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's artificial intelligence, basically, for those that want to know. The military has been battling it.
I haven't really looked into it, but I'm aware of that, and I'm aware of the idea that it has to do with extraterrestrial intelligence. I think it's interesting that in what was the sci-fi movies, sci-fi series,
X-Files.
X-Files. They talk a lot about the black oil and coming from extraterrestrial sources. I know that they did a lot of research on their program.
Well, Miles Johnson and David Griffin have done a lot of work in that area as well. I've done interviews about that. If you're interested, person who's asking the question. Someone wants to know. I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know you're a trooper, Jordan, and we love having you here. But I'm just looking to see any last minute questions here. Somebody wants to know whether, I don't know that you can really, give you a final answer on this, but someone wants me to ask you if at the top is Lucifer, AI, reptoids, or archons, or who?
Well, you have to ask that question again, because I only got pieces of it.
All right. Someone wants to know if at the very top, I guess they're asking, if there is Lucifer, reptoids, archons, artificial intelligence. What's your take on it?
Yeah, archons. Lucifer is in the Bible. if you want to talk about Lucifer, I've already proven this, and it's been proven a long time before I was ever born, but Lucifer is Jesus in the Bible. Jesus is referred to in the scriptures as Lucifer. So when you hear people talking about Lucifer, just remember that biblically speaking, Lucifer is Jesus. I've got a whole 90-minute video I put out on that showing you all the reference works and biblical reference works, Catholic reference works, Protestant, Jewish reference works, Bible and holy books. There's just an enormous amount of reference works in theology showing that Jesus is Lucifer. I don't care what you do with that or if you can handle it or not, but that's the case.
Right, but the idea there is that it was taken over by basically the sort of dark side, calling it Satan, which is, just so it's,
Yeah, but in the book of Revelation, the last chapter in the book of Revelation is 22, I think it's 26. The last chapter in the book of Revelation where Jesus said, basically, I am Lucifer. I am Lucifer, and so when you hear the word Lucifer, just remember, biblically speaking, that's Jesus.
Yeah,
There's
the
a
bringer
big
of the light. It's well, this is what the Illuminati, where they get their name from, bringer of the light.
But I was going to say, it's a big difference between Lucifer and Satan. Satan is a totally different word, and it means something totally different. And
Well, that gets into Saturn, which we haven't been able to talk about here, but Saturn is a fascinating subject as well.
oh yeah, very important. Very, very important, Saturn is, yes. But like you said, I'm getting tired, and but
Okay.
I'd love to do another show with you.
All right, yeah, let's have you back, Jordan. We want to continue this line of inquiry. It's great to see you in 2017. You're alive, you're well, you're healthy. You look pretty healthy to me. So love to see you. Love to see you in person soon, and just compare notes. And thanks so much for being on the show. I'm sure everyone else here had a very substantial audience. I've tried to ask some of these questions. I'm sorry we're not going to get to all the questions, but
That's okay, we can do it again.
we'll have you back. Okay.
Always doing more shows.
All right.
Incidentally, I'm going to be given an award in February.
That's right.
Yeah, at Conscious Life Expo, they're giving me an award, I guess it's like a Lifetime Achievement Award or something like that.
Lovely. Well, you deserve it. There's no doubt about it. So hopefully we'll see you there. We'll come down and we'll come down and see you.
Go on my website, Jordan Maxwell Show, jordanmaxwellshow.com is my website. And join my research society, because that's where all my stuff is going. It's all going on that research society website. And I'd like to thank you for having me on. Let's do it again.
All right. Thanks so much, Jordan. Have a good night, everyone. I'll let you go. I'll hang up here on the phone with you, first of all, so you don't have to hang any longer. Take care, okay? Everyone, thanks for listening and for watching, and we'll be back soon. I'm trying to get a couple of very interesting guests to come on the show, so stay tuned to my Twitter. You can always join my Twitter to stay up to date on Camelot, and also, of course, subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you happen to be watching and you're not subscribed, just click subscribe to the YouTube. It does help us to have subscribers increase. And of course, you can also go to my website, projectcamelotportal.com. So thanks for watching and have a great night, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.